Alright guys, Jameson and Alex here. Today we're going to be talking about the Mirrorkin Sorceress Origin for the Sorcerer. Yes. From Valda's Spire of Secrets. So, if you're new to the channel or to the subclass series, what we're going to do is go through all of the abilities gained in the subclass, and then we're going to rate it based on its roleplay value, combat value, and overall class synergy, based on how the abilities gained improve on the base class abilities.
That's right.
We also have our giveaway for the D&D Beyond Players Bundles. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to be entered in that. And, of course, thank you to our sponsors, Hit Point Press. Make sure you check out their animated spell cards, their Big Bad series,
their adorable plushies.
And I'll have on screen whatever their newest, hottest object is that they're promoting. So make sure you check that out. Helps us, helps them, keeps the channel going, lets us do more giveaways. So, all that being said, let's jump straight into it. Mirrorkin Sorcerer, Alex.
We're starting off with mirror magic because we're a Mirrorkin. We like mirrors and reflections and things. That's what we do. When a spell is cast targeting you, or you're in the area of a spell's effect, you can use your reaction to learn that spell.
Okay.
Boom. You can't use this ability to learn a spell that had no effect on you, even if it forced you to make a saving throw against it. So if it's an all or nothing save and you succeed the saving throw, you don't get to learn the spell. So I guess it created an interesting opportunity. You could choose to fail said saving throw if you really want to learn that spell. I was like, I take it with my chest.
It looks cool. I take it.
It does 38 damage. Well, I'm down because you're a sorcerer. So keep that in mind. You can only learn a spell if it's a level for which you have spell slots. You can learn 2 first-level spells using this ability, which don't count against a number of sorcerer spells you know. That's why I chose this subclass to review, because that is the most important thing you can guess with a sorcerer, and we'll get more of that later. When you gain 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th level spells, you can learn 2 spells for each of those levels. Total of 10 additional spells. So 2 2s, 2 3s, 2 4s, 2 5s on top of the 2 1s. You don't get 10 5s.
Right.
Important. Spells learned need not be from the sorcerer spell list. Also important. But count as sorcerer spells for you. You can use your action to forget a spell you have learned using this ability. So if you
want to free up
one of those 3s to grab something else, you have the choice to do so.
Yes. Then you get Mimic Trait, also at level 1. As an action, you can choose a humanoid you can see within 60 feet and gain 1 trait of your choice that they possess from the following list, even if they only possess it temporarily. The options on here that are given as examples are a special sense, such as dark vision or tremor sense, 1 movement speed, such as swim or climb speed, 1 skill, tool, or instrument proficiency, 1 damage resistance, or their accent, verbal tics, and mannerisms. You can keep this trait as long as you are within 60 feet of the target, or until you use this ability again. So a nice, potentially useful roleplay or combat.
Depending on which one of those traits you take.
Yes.
Next up, we have Reflect Magic. When a creature casts a spell that calls for a saving throw to resist its effects and targets you or includes you in the area of effect, you can attempt to reflect the spell's energy back against its caster. Spend a number of sorcery points equal to the spell's level. 1 sorcery point for cantrips. If you decide you wanted to do that, why you would, I don't know. But if you wanted to, dang it, you can. If you succeed on your saving throw against the spell, the caster must also make a saving throw against the spell using their own spell save DC. On a failed save, the caster suffers the effects of the spell you had cast as if you had cast it, and they had been the original target or been within the area of that spell.
So it's just a crazy counterspell.
It's counterspell on frickin' steroids.
Yes. And then probably one of the strangest and most interesting abilities I've ever seen. Level 14, Copycat.
That's right.
You have developed your mimicry to the point where you can mirror the unique and powerful abilities of those around you.
Yay.
As an action on your turn, you can perform any action that has been performed within the last minute by a humanoid other than yourself that you can see within 60 feet. Any prerequisites that would normally be required for the action, such as brandishing of holy symbols, spending key points, consumption of items, are waived when you use this feature, unless it is a spell or required the use of a spell slot, in which case you must still expend the relevant spell slots and any required expensive material components. If the ability forces targets to make a saving throw, you can use your sorcerer spell save DC. Once you use this ability, you must finish a long rest before you can use it again. So, yep, shenanigans there.
We'll get to more of that when we get to the combat section. Oh, I'm gonna God, I love this subclass. And finally, we have Perfect Duplicate. You can duplicate yourself and others with ease. You learn the spells Disguise Self and Mirror Image if you don't know them already, and you can cast them without expending a spell slot.
There you go.
One extra thing I want to throw in as a caveat is it says if you don't already know them, I would say if you knew them already, you'd be allowed to pick an extra spell of like the equal level to your known spell list, maybe make up for the fact you already knew them.
Possibly. Or you just purposely don't take them.
Or you probably don't take them until then, but 18's a long way away.
Yeah.
And
but you can get by without those spells. I mean,
I really like Mirror Image, though. It's really fun.
Yeah, sure.
It's personal.
All right.
That's it, though. On to rating part of the video.
Yes.
Starting off, asterisk as always.
Roleplay. So, when we're talking about roleplay value, talking about interacting with the world around you, interacting with NPCs, non-combat scenarios, avoiding combat, basically things outside of the initiative order. Not talking about your class fantasy, history, lore, background. That's on you as a player. We can't rate you, but we can rate the abilities gained in the subclass and how they might improve your potential in those roleplay scenarios.
Got it. That's right.
There we go.
Yes.
So, all that being said, this is a very interesting subclass. The spell learning is very unique.
Yes.
And we talked about this a lot when we discussed this.
Lot.
It really covers one of the biggest weaknesses of being a sorcerer, which is
besides your hit points.
Limited spells known. Right. That's another.
Your hit points and armor, lack thereof.
So it's very unique, and you could even borrow situational spells. So, for example, maybe you're going to be separated from the rest of your party. You're going to go scout ahead, and you need a specific spell. Maybe you need an identify from your wizard. Maybe you need a fly spell or some other random spell you don't normally have access to. You can borrow it for a moment. And then
borrow Dimension Door.
Drop it.
You borrow it, whatever you want to borrow.
So, yeah, you could, and it doesn't have to be from your spell list either. It could be any spell, which is very interesting.
Yes.
You also have Trait Mimic, which is super helpful. The only niche thing about that is you have to stay within 60 feet.
Yes.
So if you are going to use it for roleplay, you have to be very clever about how you do so.
Yes.
Because 60 feet in certain circumstances could get a little sketchy. If you're like inside inns or someone goes into a building and you're trying to copy them, it gets a little wonky. So you got to be clever on how you want to use that effectively. Because
my immediate thought was, okay, you get Disguise Self for free later, obviously, but you could have it ahead of time. But it's a good RP spell. And then that with Mimic Trait, you could take somebody's accent, verbal tics, and mannerism. You could completely pass yourself off as somebody else.
Right.
And the chances of somebody knowing unless they had like to take magic is going to be like near impossible.
Right.
But you have to remain within 60 feet of whatever you're disguising yourself as to keep the mannerisms and verbal tics and everything and accent to be a perfect match. Like if you were disguising yourself as the bouncer outside the door of whatever bar you're going into, you got to make sure you stay within 60 feet. So
right. And then the Magic Reflect could come into play in niche circumstances. If there's someone trying to cast like a Zone of Truth on you, or a charm, something like that, it could come into play. Probably not going to happen too often though. The Copycat is super high potential for roleplay. Someone could perform some kind of ritual or something, and you just copy them, or they have a special spell to get into like a secret tome or whatever. And then you kind of spying on them, and then they leave, and then you're like, okay, there's no one here left, and I'm just going to copy what that guy just did, whatever it was. I don't even know. So there's definitely some uses in that. Again, if you're really clever and stuff, that could come into play.
Seems to be a common theme in this book.
Yeah.
There's a lot of open-ended abilities, and if you're really smart with, you can do a lot of fun stuff with.
And then, of course, Disguise Self at will is always helpful, but it is at 18, so take that with a grain of salt.
Your image obviously working in RP2s, making extra copies of yourself.
Right. So, all that being said, every single ability has potential for roleplay. And at that, some of them can actually be very potent. So, with that being said, we actually went with a 4.5 on the roleplay.
Yes.
So, again, we don't get these high upper scores in roleplay too often.
Nope.
Because a lot of subclasses don't focus so much on that. Especially not sorcerer. I don't know if this is probably the highest RP sorcerer that I can think of.
I don't know how it's not.
Just because they typically try to focus more on their meta magics and things like that.
Yep.
But with this, you're getting some really unique options on here, and some of them might be more niche. But when they do hit, they're going to be incredibly impactful. So that's
and the fact, like the Mimic Trait, yes, there is the restriction of 60 feet. but you can use it at will and just swap it whatever you really need to. So if you need that climbing speed, and somebody, as soon as you get up top, no, you don't need the climbing speed anymore. Great. Well, okay, I'm going to copy what this guy's got. Now I've got dark vision up to 60 feet, and normally I don't have dark vision past 30 feet. You can just change that at will as long as you bring within 60 feet of your target, which is amazing.
Yes.
On to the combat side of things, where I think even we have a heavier lean even into the creativity of what you get access to. Because mirror magic, it's a simple concept, but it is so potent for sorcerer more than every other full caster not named warlock. Because
they're their own thing.
Warlock gives me headaches. It really does. By far, sorcerer's biggest struggle, aside from lack of health and armor, is the number of spells known. Yes, you get to do a lot of really cool stuff by casting spells twice, or making your buff spell last twice as long, or hitting somebody from across the map with your eyes closed. You can do a lot of great stuff. But at cap, it's 16 spells known total between 9 levels of spells. Like there'd be a very likely chance you're going to spend a lot of time casting like the same level 3 spell at level 3, 4, 5, and 6 for like consistent damage. Like you'd be throwing varying sizes of fireballs at people, kind of thing. So the fact that it specifically allows you to address and getting extra spells for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 allows you to grab maybe an extra RP in combat at 1 of each at 2, then a couple of combats at 3, then 1 of each at 4, then a couple of combats at 5. So you can change that, and the fact that you can just use, if you've got 2 4s already and you haven't used banishment freaking ever.
Right.
And he's like, you know what? I'm just going to use an action. I'm just going to forget banishment. So next time I see a level 4 spell that I want to just freaking take, you can do it. And that's again, there's no limitation to that. So it's great. Mimic trait, still on the combat side of things, absolutely works, because dark vision, if you don't have it, that could be great to just like, during the daytime you don't give a fart that you don't have it, but nighttime gets here, you're like, hey friend, give me your eyes. Give me your eyes. So yes, tremor sense. That's a very rare trait, which is very unique that you can just choose to take if you run into somebody that's got it.
Hey, druid, wild shape, moon, circle moon.
Yep. Of course, women climbing speed. If you all of a sudden you're in a tree-based combat and there's everybody's got to be up in trees, and you're like, now you can climb.
Or even flying. If someone has flying, technically it could be flying speed.
Absolutely. And, of course, a damage resistance. If you find out that you're fighting a red dragon at some point, and hopefully it's not one of this size for your sake, but if it is, you're like, oh, this fire genasi over here is like, hi, friend, can we just stay within 60 feet of each other for the next, hopefully we live that long? Great.
Absolutely.
A lot of talking. We only passed first 2 abilities. I have to pick this up a little bit. Reflect magic. The fact that it's counterspell, but on steroids, is great. The only limit to usage, of course, is the number of sorcery points, which can get expensive.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
you know it's there. You know what the cost is when you do it, so you can wrap your head around the fact that is it worth it to do this? You got to make that decision on the point. At the point. So it's not a use it or waste it kind of thing. So if somebody decides they're going to throw a finger of death at you, it might be worth to go ahead and spend a 7 to no. Yeah. So you probably don't want to be burning it on a lot of little stuff. If somebody's throwing a level 1 guiding bolt at you, it's probably not worth to send that back at them unless you're toward the end of the day or kind of thing. So be smart with it. It's a great effect. You're not just spending a level 3 spell slot to just try to counter their thing.
Yeah.
Because you can turn your sorcery points into spell slots and vice versa, so you can get some back if you need to.
Yeah.
And throw that out. Okay, I'm going to skip 14 for a split second, because we'll come back to that in just a minute. Perfect duplicate, disguise self, not useful in combat. Mirror image, definitely useful in combat. And the fact that you can do it at will helps keep you alive. Simple. Copycat. This is on the short list for my most favorite abilities I have ever seen written in a Dungeons & Dragons book, whether it's 5th edition official, homebrew, whatever. Because it specifies any action formed by a humanoid other than yourself that you see within 60 feet. Any action.
Yeah.
Okay? It doesn't say any attack. It doesn't say ability. It says any action. Do you know some things that are classified as actions? I'm not talking about any spells, obviously, because you can copy spells normally with your base ability. You can grab big spells with this. somebody goes time stop, you're like, well, guess what? Somebody cast time stop. Now I'm going to do it. You can. Absolutely. Why not?
Not at 14, but...
Right. But once you have level 9 spells, yes. That is strictly there specifically. But I think of like, there's a paladin in your party. He's level 20. He used his action to go crazy mode for a minute. Guess what you can now do? Freaking go crazy for a moment. What?
Shenanigans.
What? Oh, your druid friend just wild shaped. I mean, yeah. Can I freaking wild shape? Yeah, of course you can. Why can't you?
Why not?
This is the most open-ended ability that's ever been written in a book because it's any action as long as you run into it and see it. So you're like, the answer is, can I do that too? Yes, you absolutely can. As long as
once a day.
It is once a day, so we'll specify that. But again, if you know, like, even just knowing what the abilities in your party has, that can be very important because then you got some crazy capstone ability, pop off, and cool.
Yep.
You can do the same thing. The only it made me just go when it says any by a humanoid because that does matter. So you can't like
yes.
You're fighting an ancient red dragon. He's like fire breath. I was like fire breath right back at you. Of course you wouldn't because they resist the damage. But but the point is, I love this thing, and Jameson talked me down to a 4 out of a possible 5.
Yes, my biggest hang up with it is.
And go ahead, bring me back down a little bit.
I have to explain how I got him down. So basically, again, this comes back around every once in a while. Is it addresses some of the biggest flaws of Sorcerer, and keep this in mind for. I'll just say synergy because this is kind of going to tie in a little bit.
Yes.
So with the synergy, spell slots are incredibly important.
Mm-hmm.
With mirror magic, it addresses potentially one of your weakest points as a sorcerer, which is spells known. That being said, you have to run into casters to be able to learn spells, and then they have to cast spells that are of those levels, and they have to target you, and they have to affect you.
Yes.
So the fact that it is so stringent on those specific circumstances does have to warrant some kind of mitigation in the scoring. Because if you don't run into sorcerers, or if you don't run into casters and stuff, you're not going to really get the benefits of one of the biggest parts of it. But we also had this discussion as well, is if you're a creative player, again, you could find ways in towns, you go to
every town you visit, you like, find a cleric temple, find some school that's teaching baby wizards.
Or, just let them be like, practice on me. Just take me.
Are you sure? He's like, magic missile. You know it? Right here in the chest.
Give it to me.
I got it.
So you can do stuff like that if your DM will let you and put you in circumstances.
Polymorph, right here. Make me whatever you dang well please.
Right. So there are ways you can get around that a little bit to an extent, but it is what it is on there. And the other thing too is there's all of these things have like some kind of little way to rein you in. Like you have to be within 60 feet. You have to, see a humanoid within 60 feet.
Yes.
So there's these little things that kind of bring you back down just a little bit, but when it does work, it is going to be awesome.
See, I really thought he was going to argue that like the capstone's kind of lackluster compared to how stupid the rest of the stuff is, and I'd be like, yeah, it's a fair point, but it's not even what he brought up all that much.
As a capstone, it's whatever, but
because the capstone is not great, but normally we argue the fact that if something has a really, really good capstone, you don't get it till 18, so hope you get there. If not,
but hey, to be fair though, mirror image at will is actually not that bad. Because as soon as it goes away, you're back up. Guess what? It's back.
It is back.
So it's going to really help your survivability, even if it is just really simple like that. Yeah. So it does help. So
simple doesn't mean bad.
But all of that being said, on the synergy stuff here, the Reflect gives more uses for your sorcery points, which is another big part of being a sorcerer, is using those sorcery points and meta magics and things like that. So it gives you more options for that. Having access to more spells and being able to change spells on the fly, learn spells, borrow spells from allies and things like that. If you have a caster heavy party, you can gain access to maybe, a bunch of you have Fireball or a certain spell, and whenever you get into an AoE situation, you're just like, let it go. And you all just take a whole round of fireballs from the entire party or something. I don't know. There's different stuff you can do depending on party composition, of course. If you have a party composition of all martial and you're the only caster, you're going to have to find some creative ways to get some extra spells.
That's right.
So that's on you guys as a player there. And then gaining extra trait is just always going to be good.
Yes.
Because it's going to help you in potentially every circumstance. And again, it can be party reliant a little bit. If you get a barbarian, guess what? You're going to have some good resistances on unlock pretty much every combat. Getting access to BPS whenever you need it is going to be nice.
That's right.
So there's some good stuff for sure on here. So with the synergy, we also gave it a 4.
Yep.
So pretty solid. It's just that some of the limitations with humanoids and being within a certain range.
Sure.
And then, of course, the spell casting stuff. If you're not around casters as much, it's going to kind of hamper you down a little bit.
I could just imagine somebody playing this, which this is on my list of things I'm going to play at some point, sooner rather than later. Just let us be level 14 because I want to use copycats. Let us be level 14. Let us be level, whether it's a one-shot or whatever, it's like, get me to 14. Because if you just see any humanoid do something really cool, you're going to be like,
my turn.
Sweet. Yeah, love it.
All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this one. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below.
And please tell me what fun other shenanigan abilities I'm not thinking of.
Yes.
That'll make me just go, cool.
Absolutely. Thanks again to our sponsors, Hit Point Press. Make sure you check out their stuff. As always high quality coming from them. Glad to have them as sponsors. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notifications so you know when our new videos are coming out. And as always, thanks for watching.